Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Four Lads Midweek Live. Great to be back with you all. I'm sorry you didn't get a notification for the pod because I may or may not have went for a nap and forgot to set it up, or I may have been busy doing other things. But yeah, I'm very, very sorry about that. But good news, returning after several weeks off ill. We also missed his birthday, the main man himself, Chris. Welcome back to the podcast, mate. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. Unexpected absence. No, look, it was. I'm not going to go into what I went through, but it wasn't nice. It was horrible. Obviously, I had to get a bit of surgery and stuff. So, you mentioned my name a few times on some of the pods, and some people got in touch on Twitter through DMs, which I appreciate. It wasn't life or death. It was serious enough to get surgery, but it wasn't like I wasn't completely debilitated. But no, it was nice to see people reach out. So thanks very much for that, and thanks for the nice messages from you, Stevie, and yourself, Kenny. So appreciate it. Nice to be liked once every so often. But I'm back, so you can come back and hate me now.
Absolutely not. No hate here. Kenny, good evening, mate. It's been, 2 days? And we're back once again to do it all over again. How are you, mate? Enjoy your day off today?
Yes, I've been very, very busy, mate. I'm absolutely shattered. And nice to have Chris back. Managed to say some nice things about him and keep a straight face at the same time, which was quite good. But no, looking forward to this. And have you bothered to read the agenda yet? Because that's the second time in a row you've told me it was too long, didn't read.
Listen, Kenny, extremely busy at work today. I've got to impress my boss and failing miserably to do so. Yeah. What can we say? I haven't read your agenda. I know it'll be good though. I know it will be good. So I just take
it after you finish work, Stephen. So stop making excuses.
When did you send it? Oh, you did send it after I'd finished work. Yeah, you did. But I was still busy, in that work mood. So what can I say? Ladies and gentlemen, I do have a question. I need your help this evening. I would like you to tell me, please, your nominations for Rangers goal this season. However, it does not include Yusuf Chermiti's overhead kick against Celtic. That is not allowed to be in. So if I've missed any, please get them in so that I can steal your answers basically for the Rangers review live show on Friday, because they've told me to go and find out what my goal this season was, and I can't think. And I keep thinking about James Tavernier's free kick, Tello Asgard's free kick, and I just can't think. So somebody give me the answer. What's Rangers' goal this season been?
I'll give you the answer.
Overhead kick. Tell me, Chris. Tell me.
Chermiti's second goal against Celtic.
I see, if I was to pick a Chermiti goal out of the four that wasn't obviously the overhead kick, I really liked the first one at Parkhead, that flick between his legs. I really liked that one. So
the second goal, the composure to put it over Araujo, and then the composure to slot it past the Sinisala. I'm probably just as fond as that goal as I was the overhead kick at the time. Right now, I don't give a shit because we didn't win the game. But honestly, it was two top quality goals, and either could be easily goal of the season for me. But I take your point about the flick, because then you look at the second goal at Parkhead as well, where he had to win the ball back for the throw in and then run and drive at the Celtic defence, where probably the best finish he's ever done. So,
yeah, get your shouts in, folks, because that would be, it would just be nice to steal your answers. Basically, that's exactly why I want to do it. Kenny, 40 years today, Graeme Souness arrived at Rangers Football Club and started the revolution, the Souness era. What do you remember from that time? You would have been a very young lad, but what do you remember? Chris wasn't even born, so we can't even ask him. But I'll ask you.
Wasn't even born. It's mad, isn't it? What do I remember? I remember being a 15-year-old boy, almost 16, mate. My birthday this weekend, so it was just before my 16th birthday, and I can remember just being in absolute awe. Graeme Souness was the best midfielder of his generation, particularly in England. I think people forget how top a midfielder he was. It was a brave and kind of experimental thing to do. Rangers had been, everybody will know this, but Rangers had been very much in the doldrums for a number of years. We were still winning some cups and stuff like that, but we had fallen by the wayside a little bit in the league for a number of years, and David Holmes came in and got a free rein eventually to do whatever he want, and he was incredibly bold and innovative with this kind of idea of bringing a young man in as a Rangers manager and player manager as well. And the excitement, I mean, Davy Herd would probably remember this verbatim actually much better than I could, but it was just the sheer awe of it. Rangers going to from being a big club to becoming a massive club almost instantly is the way it kind of was, Stevie, and absolutely incredible. Buzzing, an incredible buzz to know that he was coming after that World Cup. It was '86 World Cup in Mexico. He was taking over. He was taking over Rangers after it. So it was incredibly exciting summer. Put it that way.
Yeah, it was a visionary move from David Holmes. Chris, you obviously, just a young man. You were not born, but you will know of the Souness revolution. You'll have done your homework on it. Tell us a bit about the Souness revolution from your perspective, please.
Well, I was a Souness baby. I was born in 1990. I think, what was that? 2 in a row, maybe 3 in a row. I can't remember. I was going to say I can't remember. Obviously, I can't remember. But yeah, I was born in 1990, and then Souness obviously departed a year or two after I was born, and then Walter took over. So the first time Rangers lost the league, I would have been 7 or 8, and that is purely down to Graeme Souness. Obviously, it's down to Walter Smith as well, of course it is, but Souness brought Walter to the club. Souness started the 9 in a row revolution. Souness restored us to the very top of the game and more. And, you know, he was massive pillar in the history of our football club. So you can never underestimate the influence that Graeme Souness had. He had the balls to do things that not many people would have done. Obviously, the obvious one there, Mo Johnson, but he also would call out the SFA and their standards, practices, and let's just call them quirks. And then again, something that it doesn't go under the radar, but something that is easily forgotten when you're talking about Graeme Souness. His best signing, Walter Smith. That's a signing that went on to deliver massive amount of success for Rangers, 21 trophies. So all in all, just an amazing period for the football club that culminated in a trophy in 2011. Some 30 odd years after he was actually appointed Rangers manager, when Walter Smith delivered 3 in a row, and that wouldn't have been possible without Graeme Souness. So yeah, an absolute icon at the club. What I like about Graeme Souness as well is he's obviously Scottish, of course he is, but he's far more ingrained in the English game than he ever was in the Scottish game. Obviously, he was brought up in the English game as a young boy and played his whole career there, out with the spell in Italy, and then towards the tail end, it was the Scottish. He did end up in the Scottish game, but he always sticks up for us. He gets it. He always sticks up for how big we are, and there's an English arrogance down south about the Premier League and the size of the clubs, and Souness, he doesn't buy into that. He tells people exactly how big our football club is, and that's another thing that I like about him, because it's for me, the way Souness was treated towards the end, not by Rangers or whatever, obviously by the SFA and certain sections of the public and stuff, it'd be easy for him to be bitter, but he loves. When you hear him talk, he loved absolutely everything about Rangers, and he's still very fond of the club to this day. So a massive pillar in the history of Rangers.
Yeah, he certainly was, and he was also responsible for one other thing, Kenny, the arrival of Walter Smith.
He was, and it was the first thing he did. As soon as he was offered the job privately, asked Walter if Walter would come with him, and Walter, I think, went and talked to Jim McLean and said, "I'm leaving," and that was the end of that. And the rest is glorious history. It really is. If you look at that, was the best signing. Souness said this himself. It's the best signing he ever made was Walter Smith, but it's one of the greatest signings of our club's history. And he never kicked the ball for us. It's incredible. And it's just, when you look back on it now, and it's kind of halcyon days, if you like, and it's just at an era where English football had a real issue with hooliganism, and Graeme Souness used his clout down there to bring some of the greatest English players of that generation up here, and Walter continued that by bringing the likes of Paul Gascoigne up and stuff like that as well. It's just one of these things, Stevie, that when I look back, I'm 56 at the weekend, so it's 40 years ago for me. I'm a young teenager, and I just look back on that time and going from being what felt like going, how would I describe this? It was going from being Rangers to being Real Madrid in my head, if you know what I mean. We became one of the biggest football clubs on the planet almost in an instant, just because of the profile of the signings that Graeme Souness brought. Walter Smith was well regarded even when I was a young boy within Scottish football, the signings, and we just kicked off, Stevie. And when Graeme Souness left, slightly under a cloud as well. I remember, maybe Chris won't remember because he's far too young, but you'll know the story about he was going to go and sign for Liverpool, and he wanted to stay at the end of the season, and David Murray said no, and it was the Rangers squad. David Murray brought Richard Gough and a few of the senior players up and asked, who would you like? We could go and get him, we could go and get this, that, the next thing. And they all said, let's think about it. And they all came back and said, give it to Walter. So it's the mark of the man. It's the mark of Graeme Souness that he's seen what Walter had. And yeah, Walter Smith's the greatest manager in our history. And we've got Graeme Souness to thank, directly and indirectly for him being the greatest manager we've ever had. So yeah, Graeme Souness, man, what a human being, a magnificent bastard, as everybody would call him, but he is. And Chris is spot on. Every single time you hear him, whether it be on, I know he's retired from Sky, but any media thing that he does these days, he's not got a bad word to say about us. He loves us as a football club, and we love him too.
Yeah, Graeme Souness speaks always fantastically of Rangers. Craig Marshall says he's first Rangers manager to sign a Catholic. Indeed, he was not. Do some research. I think you'll find. I've done an article on that before, Kenny. You know this, on Four Lads, actually. A number of Catholics have been signed. Don Kitchenbrand being one of them as well. I would need to go and look at the article, but David Gerrard, if he was on, would tell you that's not true. He might have been the first high-profile Catholic in Mo Johnston to have signed for Rangers, but he certainly wasn't the first. That is something that has been debunked many, many times before. Chris, Rangers have clawed their way back to 1 point behind Hearts. We were 13 points behind them and 11 behind Celtic. We now lead Celtic by 2, and we are 1 behind Hearts. Our fate and destiny is in our own hands. the fixtures have been released. But what do you make of Rangers in the last few weeks while you've been away? To get back to the position they're in, we don't need favours anymore. We need Rangers to win games. We need 6 victories. And I remember the week we were all on and we tipped Rangers to win the title, and then by the next show we were 6 behind, and it was like, what the hell? Like, but I still feel as confident as I did that night. I think that the club and the team are really coming to a fore at the right time, which is a crazy thing to say, but I was writing an article this morning for Rangers Review, and when I went through the players, when I was talking about Sterling, Fernandes, Giga, Romans, Raskin, Chukwani, Mikey Moore, Telo Asgard, even Miovski, Chermiti, they all have one thing in common. Even the Deary, now there is rumours that he might not play again this season because of a hamstring thing. It is rumours at this moment in time, nothing confirmed. What do they all have in common, Chris? They're all hitting form. They're all in form or hitting form right at the right time. And when you're talking about a massive chunk of your team like that, I'm excited.
Yeah, they're all dialing in at the right time, and as you say, I would say that individually we've got players hitting form at the right time, and collectively we are the form team. We seem to have focused and peaked and starting to peak right at the absolute crucial point in the season. The measure of that is we went top of the league for the first time this season. We went top of the league for the first time in 2 years. And it was late March, early April, whenever it was last week, wasn't it? So it's probably April. But that to me shows that the mind frame and the mentality is right. Big opportunity against Dundee United. Test a character, test a nerve, test a bottle. The Rangers that I know for the last couple of years would have dropped points and handed advantage straight to their direct rivals. And no one would have been surprised by it. And this Rangers, who have seemed to, as you say, Stevie, hit form right at the correct time, they done a professional enough job against Dundee United. There was a few moments of adversity where Dundee United pulled back 2 goals, and I thought, right, here we go. At one point, I thought, we can all see what's going to happen here. And then what did we have? We had killer instinct. The game was killed stone dead by a striker who's not really had as many opportunities as he's probably liked. He's not probably hit the heights that we expected, but he's come in, he scored an absolute peach of a goal, a crucial goal, killed a game to put us top of the league. And that to me shows that every player is buying in, dialing in, and ready to play their part this season. Miovski has not had, and I'm singling out Miovski here, but there's many like Asgard, etc. that you're saying here, Stephen. Even Jigger, like I can't believe that we're talking about Jigger probably being a formed defender getting into the running, but he really is. And that's a massive compliment to him because Fernandes has been a sensation, but I think Jigger is just the last couple of weeks he's just been absolutely superb. But Miovski, you know, he's got a real opportunity now if Nadiri's out, and to have confidence that this guy who's got 40 odd SPFL goals and just shy of 100 appearances, I think he can, drive us to the title. Yes, I can, and no one's going to forget that he's not had the greatest of season, because if he gets that title for us by crucial goals, then that's all people remember. Because I think you used the comparison, Stevie, Andres Velička. We don't look fondly back on Velička as a legend of the club, but when anybody talks about him, we talk about how he was put in the freezer for 7 months. He was brought out to defrost in the month of April and May, and he won his league. He genuinely did. That's a fact. You know what I mean? That's a fact. And if Miovski wants to play that role, then yeah, bring it on. I'm all for it. And yeah, the one thing I'm, just from a personal point of view, I'm a wee bit worried that, Rangers in my absence have been brilliant, flawless, putting the wins on the board, and then we've got Falkirk this weekend when I'm back. If I'll tell you right now, Steve, if we drop points this weekend, I'm not coming back on to the end of the season. I think that's only fair. It's only fair.
No, we'll keep you around. It's nice to have you back, Chris. Kenny, we spoke about this obviously on Monday, and I'm still thirsty for this title. I'm feeling good. I watched the game back on Saturday. I thought we were good. And yeah, there's wee mistakes in here, as Chris said, but I'm excited. We're 1 point behind. We don't need to worry about anybody else now. Theoretically, 4 wins. I spoke about this a wee bit in the Rangers review last night and in my article with him this morning, that I can't help but feel that this league in 6 games is split into little sections. Wins against Falkirk and Motherwell is vital. Then it gives us the 2 games against Hearts and Celtic. By the time we play Celtic or Hearts and Celtic, if we get 6 points, we'll know exactly the outcome of this title. We'll know exactly what we have to do. Celtic and Hearts have got to go away to Hibs. They both won't win those games. And we've got the chance to put some pressure on. Hibs coming into form at the right time. Easter Road. It's difficult. I think they've got Falkirk as well and St Mirren. So these are all, every game's going to be really tough. And if we can concentrate on ourselves, what I'm trying to get at and spit out and roundabout in my babbling ways as I do, Kenny, is that, see, by the time we play Hearts and Celtic, we're going to know exactly. And we could be 5 games down and we could be a couple of games away from setting it up to be Hibs at home. And I know it's a game at a time, I know all that, but people have talked about the fixtures and his split and how it's went. I actually think it suits Rangers in many ways because our destiny is in our hands. We know what we have to do, and I think that's when Rangers are at the best.
I agree with most of that. Yep. I look at it. I'm with you in terms of taking it incrementally. We've got 6 games left. Do it in a 2 and a 2 and a 2, and I look at it and I think the first thing that we have to do, it's imperative that we win the next 2 games. I think if we do that, the chances are we're going to be top of the table, because I tend to agree with you. I can't see Hearts taking 6 points out of 6 against Motherwell and then Hibs. Then I look at I'll concentrate on Rangers here more than anything else. I just look at that and say, I'll tell you what, if we do take the 6, and this is all hypothetical, so I'm not getting carried away. I'm not thinking too far in the future. But if we do ultimately take those 6 points in the first 2 games, I'll tell you what, you'd be looking at 2 cup finals. Okay, they're away from home, but I don't care. And I just look at that and say, I'll tell you what, right now, you win those 2, you're going to win this league. And you are. Because I couldn't believe that stat when I heard it. No team's ever won all 5 games after the split. None of them, nobody's ever done it, which I find incredible, but it's true. And I just look at that and think, well, we might as well be the first ones to do it then, because it's all for us. This is what I kind of say. And I've heard a lot of people talking about the last game of the season. We're away at Falkirk. The 2 of them are playing a head-to-head. And people saying, but they're going to lie down. Listen, there's a Champions League spot to play for. And I don't believe for a minute that either of them are necessarily going to lie down if that Champions League spot's there. It's too much money at risk. So I'm fairly comfortable with the fixtures, oddly. I don't mind. Genuinely, I know I've seen an awful lot of folk going ballistic about the fixtures, and I can understand why. I think if you look at the 3 clubs, there's one club it certainly on paper kind of favours, but I can also strangely understand why that happens without going into any detail. But for me, we focus on ourselves and nobody else. I don't care about the other 2 at this moment in time. Concentrating what we've got to do. And that for me is exactly what you're saying. Get this game at the weekend. Falkirk's going to be a tough game. Get the 3 points there. Then we concentrate in the split. And it's really exciting. But it's in all 3 clubs' hands, Stevie. We know that. However, without being, as I said on Monday night, overly optimistic about this, I'd rather be in Rangers' shoes at this minute in time than anybody else's. Now, Hearts fans will say the same. They've got the extra point. But I'll tell you what, Hearts run of fixtures are even worse than ours. They're really difficult fixtures they have, and they're not particularly playing well, home or away. Now, they're picking up results at home, but they're struggling to do that. But away from home, they've stopped picking up results. I've stopped picking up wins, and they're going to find it really tough from here on in with the nature of those fixtures. that's what I would do. I would be looking at, as I say, the first two, see the next two. That's 2 games, 5 days, both away from home. And that is where for Rangers, that league can be determined. Honestly, go and take 12 points out of 12 right now. That's what our focus should be, regardless to injuries or teams or whatever. Just go and try and win these games, and then we'll see where we're at with the final 2 games.
I actually really like this post from Kendall. He says, our players look hungry. Previous seasons at this point, they were terrified. I seen that on Saturday, actually. There was a wee bit of nerves in the first 30 minutes, but I think the way we went on to play in the second half, we were great. Chermiti and Gassama were excellent. Chermiti, the obvious big problem with him, he couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo or whatever the hell the saying is. Chris, what do you make of the fixtures?
I'm similar to Kenny. I'm not going to get involved in the politics of it. Yeah, it's probably this favour Celtic over Rangers and Hearts, but that's just the way things go. You can look at it, and by no means am I defending Celtic here, but you can look at coming into the split, they've had to go to Tynecastle twice and they've had to go to Ibrox twice. So that's just the way it lands, isn't it? You know, you play 19 home, 19 away. Just focus on Rangers. We've got 6 games, you get 18 points. Get 18 points, you definitely win the league. Get 15 points, you are most likely to win the league. Anything less than that, then you're handing advantage to your direct opposition or your direct rivals. So just dial in, as I say, just keep winning, keep chipping it off. I don't believe that 6 wins out of 6 is absolute. Well, no, obviously it is necessary because you're going to win the league if you win 6 out of 6. But what I'm trying to say here is, if we keep ticking off wins, I believe the other 2 will keep handing us favours, and the last couple of games probably won't matter. But in order for that to happen, Rangers just need to keep winning. Don't look too far ahead in the future. Just look at your next up and coming game. This game at the weekend against Falkirk is massive. Haven't beat Falkirk at all this season. It's the place where we can bury a few ghosts. It's where Russell Martin lost his job. We can put that sorry episode behind us by hopefully going top. But I do believe that we will extend, if we do win at the weekend, I do believe we will extend a lead over someone, whether that's Hearts and Celtic or Celtic themselves, because I think one of them are going to fall at the weekend. And an actual fact, interesting fact is, only once this season have Rangers, Celtic and Hearts all won in the same weekend. And that theory proved correct again at the weekend just there. So, yeah, let's just hope that Rangers, that Celtic and Hearts both don't win this weekend before we play. But listen, massive game. Not looking too far ahead at the split until after we get Falkirk out the way, get them beat, hopefully. It also gives us confidence going back to the Falkirk Stadium, which is another just ridiculous quirk of this split where we go there 3 times, which is mental, but that is what it is. And that's it. And someone saying in the comments, you'll take 6-1 nils. Yeah, of course you would, but you'd rather not. you'd rather 6-6 nils. But yeah, it's going to be tense. It's going to be edgy. But the players' mentalities, they seem to be in the right place. Just get the job done week on week, ticking it off, and starting this weekend, just get the win at the weekend, and yeah, just keep the head down. Moving on to who have we got first? Is it Hibs at home? Yeah.
No, Motherwell.
Motherwell at home. Yeah, sorry, Hibs is the last. Hibs is the last game at Ibrox. Yeah, get the win, get the momentum, get into the Motherwell game. Full support behind the players, and drive them on to get another 3 points, and then before you know it, that's what 4 or 5 games in a row we've won. Momentum's clearly with us, and then that does a lot. The momentum of a team who's fighting for a title does a lot for the psyche of the other teams, because they're thinking to themselves, we can't slip up because they're going to win, and that's what we need to do. We need to try and take every marginal gain that we possibly can, and that's a big one. the momentum, because it doesn't just help us in terms of the confidence going into games. It will also play in the minds of the Hearts and Celtic players. And Hearts, we've been saying all season that Hearts bubble's going to burst and etc. etc. I've never really truly bought into it until now, when I watched the game against them, against Livingston, and I seen Cammy Devlin want to fight with Claudio Braga because he didn't square the ball. That to me shows the pressure is getting to them. I'm not saying that the bubble's burst, or I'm not saying that they're going to bottle it or whatever, but what I'm saying is we can literally see the pressure is getting to them a wee bit, because the players are wanting to fight each other because they're not squaring to each other for tap-ins. You won't see that for Celtic. They're obviously too long in the tooth for these kind of things, but it showed a real lack of inexperience for the Hearts team. And you just need to hope. Well, you don't need to hope because it's in our hands, but you just need to, I suppose that, as I say, marginal gains helps us. You just need to hope that the absolute weight of expectation of 60 years of expectation just caves in on them. But again, we don't even need that, because as Kenny rightfully said, it's in our hands to do the job. So yeah. The old adage, Stephen, the only team that can stop Rangers is Rangers, but we don't need to think positive. We don't need to think negatively, because Rangers can win this league for Rangers now. We don't need to rely on failures.
A couple of things happened on Saturday that I want to slightly touch on before we talk about Ryan O'Deary. Chris, I'm going to just stick with you because I talked about this, Kenny. Sorry, I talked about this with you a wee bit. I want Chris' opinion. Certain things happen, right? And I know everybody's talking about 6-1-0 wins, but my sphincter tightened something chronic when that header hit the back of the post. I can tell you that. So 6-1-0s we would take, but it's a bit nervy. What I wanted to talk to you about is Rangers at the start of the second half, when they actually pressurised. They had 3 really good opportunities. The third one, Gassama then rifles it across and Asgard scores. The first one, Chermiti's through, then Gassama's through. Rangers pinning teams in and actually taking goals off them. They did the same against Aberdeen at the right time. And then to go and from that post to break up front and score that goal to make it 4-2. See, if Celtic had done that, or even Hearts, we would have seen that. That's what champions do, right? We all would have said that. Not only that, Olympiacos getting beat at the weekend puts them 5 points behind in the Greek title, with a wee bit to go for them. It's the stars aligning. There's parts of me that think a wee bit that it might be.
Yes. Look, it was, as I say, there was so many different tests of character at the weekend against Dundee United, and they passed most of them. If I'm going to nitpick, which is in my nature to do, I want to see a wee bit more ruthlessness from us. And the example I can give you there is Chukwani. I want to see guys literally going that extra yard. By the way, this isn't a criticism of Chukwani. Like, before everybody starts writing letters, I think the last month he's been absolutely brilliant. But on that particular game against Dundee United, when they broke for the first, he had an opportunity to basically chop down the Dundee United player and stop that attack, take the yellow card, get us to regroup. So I want to see a wee bit more ruthlessness like that. Don't be too nice in this run. If you've got opportunities to stop potential dangerous situations, take it. Because you're doing it for the team. You're doing it for the team. You're doing it for the title, actually. You're doing it for the title. But again, that's just me nitpicking. That's me wanting perfection. What we had is a streetwise Rangers that came up against that had a few difficult questions what were asked of them, and they came up with the answers. As you say, Stevie, we had that situation towards the end of the game where the ball hit the post and United, and then we go and break, and the finish from Miloski was absolutely superb. You know what I mean? Outside the box as well. You know, the other kind of finishes you do inside the box, you don't do them outside the box. You don't be that cheeky. So, yeah, and that does show a certain level of ruthlessness, focus, and determination that these boys want that, because it's going to be a lot of these guys' first title if they win this, and it's going to be a first year title for the team. Obviously, this is their first year together, and then not to put too much added pressure, but obviously you've got the potential that this could be the swan song for James Tavernier as well. So who knows? Maybe that's why they're all dialing in, because they know Tav's leaving. Obviously nothing's confirmed yet, but maybe they already know it, and they're all just, getting the head down and trying to deliver this for them. Who knows? But whatever motivation they're going to take to try and win this title, I don't care what it is, as long as it gets the title. And they all do seem to be up for it and showing a mentality that, let's be honest, if they showed this mentality early in the season, the season would already be wrapped up and signed, sealed and delivered. But look, again, there's no point crying over spilt milk, and no point going back to the past. We can only look ahead, and I'm confident, even more so after seeing those kind of mini in-game challenges that the players overcame against Dundee United.
Yeah, absolutely, Kenny. Sorry to keep you waiting there, my friend. Just we had already discussed this a wee bit on Monday and stuff like that. So I want to talk to you about Ryan Adiri. Rumours, and they're only rumours. These have been going out the last couple of days that Ryan Adiri has torn his hamstring and will miss the rest of the season. I will tell you again, this is not confirmed. This is rumours. When you ask Rangers, they will not answer you. Rangers do not give you an answer to this. They will not discuss injuries at all. The most you'll get is Danny Rule, and Danny won't tell you what the prognosis is. He won't discuss anything with you. So Ryan Adiri will need to find out what he says on Friday. We have asked and we don't get an answer. So where does it leave us, Kenny? I know what I would do. I'm interested to see what you would.
It would be a big disappointment for me if he's out for the rest of the season, obviously, because he's come in and he's impressed me big time, actually. So it would be disappointing. However, we've got Bojan Majowski there. We've got Telo Asgard coming into form. You've got Bayrami that can play as a 10. You can tweak this. And at this minute in time, again, we could look back and say, we're talking about Walter Smith earlier on. You think back to Walter's time when he took over from Graeme Souness, and those last 4 games where we were absolutely riddled with injuries. We'll find a way. It's that simple. You'll need to find a way. And I don't know. It's if you're going to play with 2 up front, are you going to play with Majowski and Chermiti? I'm not sure. I think that has been done before. I'm not impressed, if I remember right. But at the same time, find a way of getting the 2 of them closer together, and I think you'll be fine. If you're going to play with the 1 up top, I don't think it affects us too much because we've still got 2 strikers there that can do that job. It's horses for courses over the last 6 games. Bitter blow for the boy himself, because he's came here with a little bit of an injury, hasn't he? And he's just not been 100% yet at all. So that's disappointing. And as you say, we don't know if he's injured or not. We obviously know he's got an injury. We could take him off at half time. But how serious the injury is remains to be seen. But listen, we'll just need to get on with it without him. If he's not there, we don't have any choice, Stevie. And this league's far too important without being disrespectful or dismissive about an injury. It's too important to concern yourself with it. You just deal with the squad that you've got and move heaven and earth to take 3 points regardless of the personnel that's in the team. But I do feel quietly confident that the way that the squad is actually performing as a whole, but as individuals are performing, that we won't have too much of an issue regardless. Now, if it gets to 5 and 6 injuries, that is a concern. But, 1 or 2 injuries shouldn't be that much of an issue, Stevie. We've got a great strength and depth, and we should just be making sure that we're there to, we're going out at the beginning of games to attack teams and dominate the way we have been doing. And if we can do that, sad for Ryan Adiri, but not overly concerned in terms of the fact that he's not going to be in the team because we've got a decent squad and we've got a number of options that can play there.
Yeah, Chris, I know what I would do. The options for me, you could put Mikey Moore in the middle, start Gassama on the left, you keep Scove on the right, you could bring Ant-Man on the left, keep Gassama for a substitute, which sometimes I think he might be better. You could put Majowski up front on his own. We're creating chances. Could it be time for Bojan Majowski? I'm interested to hear how you would, if he is injured, we don't know. Say it again. We don't know if Ryan Deary's out for the season. Rangers have not confirmed anything. So how would you combat? Because he's vital for the press. He's vital for energy in the middle. He causes a lot of problems because he drops in. Maybe Moore and entertain his ability to move about. I'm interested to hear. But like Kenny said, there's loads of options, which is nice.
Well, if he's going to go with the two up front, which he has to, let's be honest, because that's the formula here that has been working. Well, I'm saying he has to. He didn't do it at the weekend, but that's the formula that seems to work. Then you would go Majowski and Chermiti. But if not, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because if Chermiti's up front himself, he's doing all the running about, the hustling and bustling. He's not the best at that, but it also means that no one's in the middle to finish. So he really needs to think here, role what he wants to do. What I will say is the last, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 games, we're creating more chances than we've created all season. We are starting to create chance after chance after chance now. So what do you need when you're creating all those chances? You need somebody that's a finisher. So I'm not against giving Majowski that opportunity, because who would I rather the ball fell to in the box, Majowski or Chermiti? It's going to be Majowski, pretty much every time. You just don't know what you're getting with Chermiti. He had a chance against Dundee United.
Can I quickly make a quick point to you, Chris, which I want you to consider as well, if that's okay? See, given Chermiti's impact and Gassama's impact as substitutes in the second half against Dundee United, does that affect your thinking for how you would select your team in the run-in? Because they changed the game positively. Yeah, so if you're going to have that effect, Kenny, I'll come to you on that as well if you want to jump in after Chris, because that's changed my thinking. Would I start Chermiti up front on his own? Probably I would, yes. Does Saturday's performance and cameo as substitute affect my opinion on Gassama and Chermiti and their ability to come on and have that effect? 100% it does. I'm wondering, does that change your psyche a wee bit?
Yeah, it's the squad all need to perform as a collective, whether you're starting or whether you're coming on as a substitute. And Chermiti did have a brilliant role to play at the weekend, and Gassama's best impacts have been coming off the bench for me this season. I believe when he starts the game, he takes his time to sort of really kind of find the pace of the game, whereas when he comes on against tired legs, he doesn't need to find that kind of pace of the game because he can exploit fatigue and tiredness from the opposition. So it's not a bad shout. But for me, it just comes down to this. These games can be won and lost on chances missed or chances taken. And as I was just about to say about Chermiti, as much as he was good when he came on, he had an opportunity one-on-one with the Dundee United goalkeeper, and it was a terrible, terrible finish, straight to the keeper where he had to lift it. And I guarantee you, if that was Sinisalo or if that was the boy for Hearts, the goalkeeper for Hearts, that's a goal, and it would have been a chip. And you know what I mean? It's mad how. Well, I'm probably doing a wee bit of disservice here, but he had to do better. Chermiti, he simply had to do better in that opportunity, because that was the opportunity to kill the game, and that would have killed the game because it would have been the fourth goal. And yet Majowski has an opportunity which is much, much harder. It's outside the box. He's got a couple of Dundee United players around him. He needs to really get the ball moving away from the Dundee United goalkeeper. He's not one-on-one like Chermiti was, and Majowski, slots at home. So I probably favour ruthlessness over work rate, but that's where a lot of Rangers fans are going to be a wee bit nervous, because we're going to see a guy not working as hard as Chermiti outside the box, and then if we're under the cosh or if we're not getting the goal, he's probably going to cop it. So good luck to Danny Rowe. That's why he's paid the wages, and that's why he's going to have to make some tough decisions. But look, I'm with you, Stevie. If he goes with Majowski up front at the weekend and Chermiti comes on for a starring substitute appearance, yeah, that's totally comfortable with that. And then obviously you start Chermity against Celtic and Hearts, of course.
Of course. Kenny?
I would be very inclined to start Chermity over Miovski for his hold-up play. I don't think Miovski's shown enough of that. So if you're playing with one, I think my choice would actually be Chermity, to be honest. But if you're playing with two, then as I say, for me, when they have played together, we're going to have to find a way of getting them closer together. I don't think the way that Nadiri and Chermity necessarily have played when they've been a two up front necessarily is going to work with Miovski and Chermity, if you know what I mean. On Gassama, you're both spot on that he's been more of an impact player of late. However, I don't know if that's just down to the number of games that he's played. That was his 50th game of the season at the weekend there. And it could coincide with the fact they get a fortnight off, Stevie. I mean, it could be that simple that he had a decent break in him for the first time in a while. But I don't know. I'm again very inclined to look at it and say, ideally, I'm with Chris. I would want to play the two up top. Whether Nadiri's there or not, I would still want to do that. It's the left and the right hand side, and trying to make sure that you get the best out of young Mikey Moore. If you can get Mikey Moore close, it might be that I'm not convinced with Scott Olsen's performances of late that you could maybe be tweaking the whole system up front slightly. Just, when I say tweaking the system, just tweaking that shape slightly if Nadiri's not there, because Taylor Lascard's coming on a game. Where do you play him if you are going to play him? How to get the best out of Mikey Moore? You've got Oliver Antman, you've got Jerry Gassama, you've got Nadim Bayrami that can all come on and make an impact. So it all goes well for us. That's the point I would make, that regardless to Ryan Nadiri's the result of this scan, effectively, I'm not overly concerned, Stevie, because I think in general, you look at that's the last 3 games, 9 goals, 9 different goal scorers. The goals are coming from all over the place. So, it is about how we are playing and not necessarily feeding your number 9 all the time. So it's interesting, but I know what you mean, and I do see your point about the impact that Chermity and Gassama had at the weekend.
Yeah, final point, I think, tonight. Stephen Gerrard was talking to Alan Coyce this morning, praised Danny Rule, said he thinks Rule's been immaculate, signed very well in January and spoke very well. Boys, just quickly, Stephen Gerrard thinks that Danny Rule has been immaculate. What's your thoughts on that? Any use?
I was waiting for Chris. He couldn't be bothered. So, listen, it's one of these that you look at and you say, Stephen Gerrard, he's talked about his affection for us before, and I don't doubt the sincerity of it, that he's delighted that Danny Rule's come in and he's got us challenging. And the word immaculate is pretty much spot on if you think about it. He's won so many games. He's lost 1 league game. And, if you look at the first 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks that he had, where he was getting his arse handed to him in Europe and stuff like that, he could have done without that. But you actually look at the job that he's done, where he's just looked at it, been told effectively from the get-go, you need to win league games here. That's what you have to do. You need to win league games. Then he's been absolutely tremendous for us. He has. Now, is he without fault? No, he's made mistakes. Of course he has. And I get that Gerrard's looking at it from a distance. But I can see why Gerrard is very, very impressed with him, because so am I, put it that way. And I've got a better view of it than Stephen Gerrard has at this moment in time. But I do understand why Gerrard is talking to Alan McCoy and saying, "Oh, here, that looks brilliant up there, doesn't it?" So fair play to Stephen Gerrard for coming out and praising him so publicly, and actually bigging him up a bit, because I think he deserves it.
Oh, you want my opinion? All right. No, listen, I don't agree with Immaculate. Sorry, Kenny. Sorry, Stevie. I don't agree with Immaculate. He's made a few mistakes, but he's done very well, very very well. The Old Firm double header still sort of. Aye, yeah. Somebody's just said that still sticks in my craw a wee bit. Both should never have happened. But if you take them out of the equation, done very, very well. But we can't say Immaculate yet because he needs to win the league. And I've been guilty of going all in with some of these players and Danny Rowe himself, and even further back, big Phil Clement. You go in far too early before because you think you can see where it's going, and inevitably it doesn't go where you want it to go. So look, Danny Rowe will get all the praise in the world for me, definitely. When he's, holding a big shiny bit of silverware in front of me. But he has done remarkably well to take us from where we were to where we're hopefully going to be. And do you know what? My biggest criticism of Rowe was probably, I believe he was trying to manage expectation. I believe that he was trying to manage the supporters' expectation and the players' expectation, and I believe he was trying to make us out to be underdogs. He kept saying, "Look at where we were, and remember where we came from, and remember how bad things were whilst we're in a title race." He's dropped that completely, and his mantra became 8 cup finals, 7 cup finals, 6 cup finals. We need to win. We need to keep winning. We need to keep winning. And ever since the change in that, I think that's been reflected in the fan base. It's been reflected in performances on the pitch, and we can all get behind that message. Whereas I believe that the message of remember where we were was a very conflicting one. So the reason I'm bringing that up is he's clearly learning, and that's how you survive in Glasgow as an Old Firm manager. You need to learn. You need to adapt. You don't be stubborn. We had a stubborn guy at the start of this season, and that was only ever going to go one way. And we could tell from minute one where that was going to go. We need a guy that's adaptable. We need a guy that's going to learn, and he's certainly done that. But look, come back to me in 6 weeks, Stevie, and I'll be his biggest fan.
Kelso says, Stevie, the league form under Rule has been excellent. We gained 10 points on Hearts, 11 on Celtic, significantly improved our goal difference. Give the guy credit. I haven't even spoke about him, my man. I haven't even said a thing, and everybody knows that I love Danny. We are clearly best friends, and yeah, of course, I love him. Of course, immaculate, not quite, but nobody's really immaculate, are they? Ladies and gentlemen, before we finish, four lads received yesterday £1,037.52 from Castor and Umbro for our commission over the last, 6 months. We have donated that £1,037.52 in full to charities. Gary Ralston, friend of the show, is currently battling cancer and raising money. He's raised £46,000, and we've donated £100 to him. We donated £100 to Rangers Charity Foundation, Rangers Benevolent Fund, Macmillan Cancer Charity, Back On Side, AMF Charity, and Andy's Man's Club for suicidal males. We also donated £187.52 to Glasgow Cash for Kids, and we also donated £150 to Scamp and Dude, which is a charity which donates teddies to little children who have lost loved ones in hospital. Now, a little bit of a caveat with that, they're actually sending us 10 teddies, which we're going to donate to the RAH in Paisley for young children to get them as well. But because we bought 10, the charities will actually give another 10. So we've donated 20. So we're going to do that for a couple of great young boys that I know, Zach and Nate, who lost their daddy. So they ended up getting those teddies, and we're going to donate them for those wee boys in their name. But the reason I bring it up is not for credit. It's for transparency. Kenny, we said from the very start that we would never take commission for Four Lads of the Dream. We would never go and try and profit from what we did. And what we tried to do was give the support a chance to get some money off because it's so expensive to get Rangers gear, and also then the charities will manage to get a wee bit of support for that. So we chose charities between us all that we liked, and we also gave a wee bit back to Rangers as well. We don't do this for credit or anything. We do it because on behalf of the Rangers support.
Well, you do. I'd be quite happy to take it all and have a big sash bash, mate. But there we go. No, being serious, you're absolutely spot on. It's just one of those things. It's quite humbling when you get this. You know, when you see that. This is more you than anything else, Stevie. Not us, but you know where I'm going with this. It's just one of those things that is quite humbling. Last night on the chat, you were going through it. You were doing it at the time. And you were keeping us all in the loop, and it's really, really nice. And when you see some of these charities are directly being given money because of the Four Lads team, and some people being affected by certain situations, and it's really nice. And as I say, it's really quite humbling when you see members of our team say, "Can we put some to that? And can we put some to that?" And as I say, I just find it really humbling and kind of fulfilling that we actually are able to make a very, very, very slight difference in a horrible world at this minute in time. Let's not kid ourselves on. It is a horrible, horrible place for a lot of people. So, yeah, well done, Stevie.
No, it's not well done to me. It is well done, and thank you to everybody that used our codes and things like that. Chris, thoroughly enjoyed having you on, my friend. How's the Lego building going on? Most of you might have noticed Chris has been using his right hand and things like that. He is preparing another Lego build because he had to rebuild the Titanic. Folks, in the middle of being ill and upset, the Titanic was dropped. And if you know what the Titanic Lego set is, for those of you that like Lego, Chris sent me a picture, and oh my word, it hit me deeply. Yeah. Chris, how are you? You all right? Thank you, mate. It was great. Listen, absolutely brilliant to have you back on. We've missed you.
It's good to be back, but it was just the worst week of my life last week.
What was worse, the operation or the Titanic dropping?
Titanic, easy man. It was heartbreaking, and I came in. It's something people probably don't really know about me, other than people that I'm friends with. But I'm massive on Lego, and I've got all sorts of Lego stuff, Lego builds, and my Titanic fell and broke, and I had to rebuild it. And then I remembered that I had another Lego set that previously fell. So because I was in the mood, I stripped it all and put it on the table that I'm sitting at. And then yesterday after work, I couldn't be bothered. I could not be bothered. So I went for a shower, then went to bed. And I haven't been in my living room. And then I came through the living room tonight, and I was like, shit, where am I going to sit? Because it was Lego everywhere. So I had to kind of just put the laptop in the middle, and then what I'm kind of doing, you've probably seen me moving my arms all day. I'm trying to move everything across. So I'm doing a Nike build at the moment. That's the wee Nike guy. So that's the Nike trainer. So but the point is, we being back and what you're saying, it's good to have me back now. It's good to be back because it was tough. Of course it was, because especially during the week was the toughest point. I couldn't see my fiance. I wasn't in work around you guys, and my kids were just, they don't give a shit about dad anymore. It's all about their pals and stuff. And I was just like, I am so fucking lonely, man. I was feeling sorry for myself. And it was like, it was bad. And where do I store it all? I've everywhere. My house is just a Lego museum. It's, if it's no trainers, it's Lego. I can't move. But me and my fiance are going to be buying a house soon, and I was saying that to Kenny in the group chat with me, Kenny. We're literally looking for houses with an outhouse, so that I can put my trainers and Lego in there. So I'm happy with that.
Kenny, mate, always a pleasure. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for your all the notes and setting up the podcast, because as much as I do joke, you do a fantastic job and could do without you, mate. Thank you as always.
No, not at all. How you meant to follow that? Chris's cry for help. It's absolutely brilliant. Listen, delighted to see you back, Chris. Delighted to see you back at full health. Both Stevie and I had talked about it. I think it was last Wednesday or the Wednesday before, and we know you were going through a tough time, mate. So delighted to see you get past the worst of that and back at your work and stuff. And yeah, I'll see you Friday, Stevie. I'll just put me on the guest list, right enough. So
yes, I have.
Good.
I have.
The right arse the last time. Did I tell you about this? When Chris came and picked me up for the show that you did with Davey and CJ, and we're standing in the queue, and Chris done said, "Did you pay for this?" I'm like, "Aye." So I never. He said, "I'm on the guest list." I was like, "Paid for this, man?" So Chris was like, "I'm on the guest list," and I'm like, "There's my ticket." So,
just strolled in, skipped the queue, Stevie. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Well, so, Kenny, you are on the guest list for
that's fantastic.
For Friday night Rangers.
No, I'm looking forward to it, mate. I'm looking forward to the night. Unfortunately, Tracy can't come. She's babysitting her grandchildren. She's away over in Blantyre for the night, so I'll be coming down myself.
You could take a date. Take whoever you want. Kenny plus one.
My son's working, mate. He can't even come with me either. So it is.
Sure, a viewer will come with you, Kenny. No problem at all. But ladies and gentlemen, listen, thank you so much. The schedule over the next couple of days, there is no Friday night podcast. We are at Rangers Review Live. So Andrew, Amrit, and Calvin are on the tomorrow night, Thursday evening. On Friday, we will put a live podcast out for you to listen to. What we're going to do is I'm about to go and join a call with Andy Firth. We're going to catch up on him, ask him a few Steven Gerrard questions and get the gossip on Alan McGregor. So we're going to go and do that now and record with Andy. And there's also a brilliant interview with Tom Miller about his book about Graeme Souness, which David Hare done. And for some of you that are maybe of the older persuasion, we have a legend of the 1972 Cup Winners' Cup winning team. The brilliant thing about this legend is he hasn't done this before. This is a story that you've not heard before. So that, ladies and gentlemen, will get you thinking, because it's not an obvious one. It's not a goal scorer. It's not one of the key ones that you might think that are always in the news. But this is a story that I cannot wait to find out. Kenny, any guesses?
No, I'll keep it to myself. I've got a hunch or two, but I'll keep it to myself. But looking forward to it, because
it's going to be a cracker.
Every single person in that team that speaks about it, it's a brilliant listen. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. It's not Peter McCloy. Good guess, but it's not Peter McCloy. I've decided, just to upset absolutely everyone, my goal this season, out with Chermiti's overhead and Chermiti's flick, I've went for James Tavernier's free kick against Aberdeen. Sorry, everybody, but I think it's between that and Meg Homer. Asgard is in the cup, so that wasn't in either. But I've went for James Tavernier. It's not Dave Smith either, Mac. A good guess, but it's not. Thank you, everybody. Brilliant show. Thank you so much. Thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clyview Fire Protection and Joinery, Afro Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, Candid, RYDC, co.uk, who are our partners in crime as well. Thank you, everybody, so much. Have a good night. I think there's good football on tonight. Liverpool in their Champions League. I think Liverpool are playing, and I'm doing Andy first pod at the same time. He will not be paying attention. He'll just be watching. He'll just be watching the football, won't he? Who are Liverpool playing? Is it not a big game? PSG. Oof. Right, that could be painful. Anyway, on behalf of Kenny, Chris, and myself, have a great night. You guys take care. Back tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Join us. Bye for now.
Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.